I was on a call the other day with a potential client, and this is what she said. She said, I just don't know what is wrong. It could be my messaging, it could be my pricing. She really had no idea why she was not able to get clients. This is what I asked her. I asked her, what is your faith life like? Now she stopped for a moment, kind of surprised by my question, and she said, what do you mean? First, I told her, you have to make God the CEO of your business. And second, you have to pray for your business. And the third is you have to fast. She kind of sputtered and she said, well, no, I'm not doing any of that. I just launched my business because God gave me this idea. And now, I just need him to bless it. So is this how you're approaching your business? Are you praying that God will help you with what you've actually decided it is the right thing to do? And how does fasting play into your faith life to make this connection with God even stronger? Today, what I want to talk about is praying and fasting for your business. And we'll look at this story of Esther as our example. The formula you have may look like this: business idea, work hard, plus some prayer. And then that equals expecting God to bless it or to have his blessing. Here's the right formula. God plus the prayer plus the fasting equals the business ideas, the direction, the satisfaction. So I've got some strategies along with this too to help you. Join me. Hey there, wise woman. This is DeneenTB, your Christian business growth strategist and clarity coach, helping you to really get unstuck from that indecision so that you can move forward in the direction that God is calling you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get into today's topic. As I already said, many times we have our priorities turned around when we try to launch and then continually grow our businesses. We think since the idea came to us, then it must be from God. So we just move ahead thinking that we know just what to do, or we follow other people's examples, someone else and what they're doing, and we work super hard to achieve our goals. We mix in a little bit of prayer, and then we ask God to bless our efforts. Does this sound like something that you have done? I know I did. When we put the proverbial cart before the horse, do you know what happens? Frustration, disappointment, discouragement, and ultimately failure. So what's the solution? The solution is to get the priorities right. Remember I told you the formula, the secret formula, right? It's God plus prayer plus fasting. That's right. When we start with God as the CEO, the chief everything officer, and we take everything, I mean everything, to him in prayer, and then also fast through those harder decisions, then we put the horse in the right place. So when we do that, then the right business ideas actually do come into our heads, into view. And the direction that we're supposed to go, it also appears before us. And you get the satisfaction of doing the thing that God is calling you to do. So let's look at this formula. The first thing we're going to look at in the formula is to make God the CEO of your business. Now, that's easy to say, right? But how are you actually living it out? Is God the CEO, that chief everything officer of your business? So let's look at what that looks like for you and for me. First, it means that you're meeting with the boss each day. And second, it means you're trusting him enough to take a Sabbath each week. Now, everything means that the most important part of your day, your week, your month, your quarter, your year, well, your entire life is focused on God. This vertical relationship comes before any other relationship. And spending time with him has to be your top priority. Only when you spend time with God, filling up on him, can you hope to overflow in your life in a good way, in the way that God wants for you. And you can only know his will when you align with him. So let's break down what this looks like. First of all, daily. Daily, that means meeting with him. Now, I always like to use this analogy. If you were in a real world physical office or had a physical boss, and they asked you to step into their office for a meeting, would you say things like, well, I'm sorry, I don't have any time, or oh, I can't, I have to do something else, or gee, I wish you had told me sooner? No, you would not do that. You would gather your notes, your computer, all the things you need, and you would rush into that office for that meeting. Because if you didn't, what would happen? You'd probably get fired, right? But this is a lot of times what we do with the CEO of our business, the boss. We put him on hold. We put him in the background. We make him kind of the supporting role in our business and our life, and not the boss of it. So what does it really look like to have this meeting with God each and every day? Well, it starts with reading and studying the Word, journaling our thoughts and our ideas and our prayers, getting to know God's character, his promises, his warnings as well, and his commands to us. You know, I found this out. It's not about the length of time that you spend with him. It is about what you do with that time. Study God's word and study it in context. Study it systematically. If you want some assistance with this, I want to point out my resource called the REAP Method of Bible Study, REAP. I'll put a link down in the description so that you can download, I feel like, a very valuable tool to help you get started with reading the Word step by step, systematically. So what does this look like weekly? Weekly means that you are taking a Sabbath. You know, God rested on the seventh day. Why? Because he was tired? I don't think so. I love what Jesus explains in Mark 2:27. It's really what God intended for us. He modeled for us. And this is what Jesus said. He said, the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people and not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. You know, God knows his creation. God knows you. He designed you to take breaks, to re-energize, to enjoy time doing some of the things that you absolutely love. The question is, do you trust God enough with your business to actually take a Sabbath? And I'm talking about a 24-hour shutdown. This is something that I decided to do many, many years ago. And I will tell you, at first, it was kind of difficult. But now what I do is I turn off my computer. I don't pay attention to any of those messages, those replies, those dings, the alerts, anything that has to be in my business, anything related to my business. And what I actually do is plan activities for the Sabbath, activities that I know refresh me and restore me and help make me more creative, actually. And I actually look forward to those activities all week long. So I do have another resource for you to help you get started with a Sabbath. So check out the Sabbath Ideas document. I'll put that down in the description as well, and get some ideas to start this week. Do you see how this is a great place to start? You are meeting with God, getting to know him by studying his word and praying. So this takes us to the second thing we do in the formula, and that is pray for your business. I love what Charles Spurgeon said. He said, you learn to pray by praying. Now, many of us maybe don't feel like we're good prayers. I know I used to feel this way. You know, I got bored easily, and I really didn't know what to even pray about. So here's the secret. Pray about everything. So for me, that means that I keep a journal. I keep a journal that is chronological. I don't have a separate one for gratitude or for prayer requests or for anything like that. Everything is chronological and dated. Everything that I'm thinking about, everything I'm anxious about or wondering about goes into my journal. I have space on each page for worship and gratitude to God, as well as my prayers for my family, for my friends and clients. I have business ideas that are brewing inside of its pages as well. And of course, I put down praises when God answers prayer. I'm a firm believer in giving God the best time of your day. And since God is my CEO, I use this time to pray, to meditate, and even think. These are all rolled up into one thing. Not only do I grow closer to God, the prayer, the meditation, and the thinking really help me to clarify my goals and really understand what my next steps are in my business. You know, research shows us that prayer is a very powerful tool for many things. Things like self-control, making you a nicer person, increasing your ability to forgive, increasing your trust, and offsetting the negative effects of stress. This also gives you the bigger capacity to problem solve, and it opens you up for more creative brainstorming, which is so important as an entrepreneur. Now you may be thinking, well, Deneen, I can't pray. It's so boring. I don't know how to pray, maybe you're saying, or I can't concentrate long enough. Now the answer is learning how to pray in the way that God designed you, to connect with him in a way that actually works for you. Some techniques that I have taught to my own clients are praying in color, it's up there, body confessions prayer, scripture prayers, ACTS prayers, guided imagery prayers. In using a technique that works for you means that you're going to be having a way to focus on God that really connects to you. Because prayer is really about talking to God and listening to God and getting those impressions and seeing what he has you put on the pages of your journal. When we get alone with a method that works for each one of us, we open up ourselves to true communication with the Father about every part of our lives, including business. So now, the third thing we're going to do in the formula is to fast. Now, my understanding of fasting is that it is something that we should do on a regular basis to show our dependence on God. Jesus' words in Matthew 6:16 were this: when you fast. That's what he says in that verse, not if you fast. So it is an essential part of our spiritual growth. And I feel like the best example of fasting for me in the Bible is through the story of Esther. If you remember the crisis point in Esther's story, then you know that she had a very important decision to make about how to approach the king to request a favor from him that would literally save her people's lives. Now, I love this part of her story because Esther knows that in order to have a chance of saving her people, she needs to be prepared. So she calls her team, her ladies in waiting, her servants, whatever you want to say, all her women. She calls them to a fast with her, to fast and to pray. In fact, she calls the entire Jewish population to pray and fast with her as well, because she knows that God has called her to do this, and she realizes her need for him. She needs his help in order to accomplish this task. You can actually feel the shift in her purpose, in her motivation for being in the palace. This is the same type of shift that we need to understand, that our purpose, our motivation for doing our business is to demonstrate God. Ooh, it's really cool what fasting can do for you. We all know that Esther is triumphant in her request to the king, and the people defend themselves, the bad guy is vanquished, and life goes on. Have you ever had a really important decision to make? This is an area where fasting can truly be applied. Now, I'll admit, I have not made fasting the weekly habit that I want it to be. But I do set aside time every quarter to fast. I call it a quiet retreat. This is also my quarterly strategy meeting with God, the CEO. And it's actually one of my very favorite things to do every quarter. I get alone with God for an entire day. And I take myself out to this retreat center with really bad Wi-Fi. I rent a small room for the day. I forget my lunch and I talk to no one. It's actually not just a quiet retreat, it's a silent retreat. It lasts for, I don't know, about 6 hours, and it is fabulous. Because you know what? Do you really know how long it takes to calm down, to decompress, and even listen to your own thoughts? I know it takes me the first 2 hours of my retreat just to slow down and kind of just get out of my own head. This is my time for worship. I do my Bible study. I journal my prayers. I go out in nature because there's so many different trails at the retreat center. I feel that aloneness. Then the second 2 hours are really focused on planning. This is my strategic time. I plan for the coming quarter, and I start always with a brain dump. I use my sticky notes. I get everything out of my head. Sometimes I do that in the first couple of hours if I really cannot, unhinge myself from things. I love what Proverbs 16:9 says. It says, "A man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his steps." This is my time to really have God direct my steps. I trust that the ideas that are coming to me are the best for me. I stay aligned with God by trusting him for the results. Then those last 2 hours really come down to actually praying through the plans that I have outlined, so to speak. Again, I go to my journal, I write out the plan, I pray over each piece. I have found that reminding myself of what God expects, and you could check out all of Proverbs 16 to help you do that, by reading through his word, by making sure that I'm with him first, really keeps me rooted. The fasting component of the day, that's a very interesting part of the day. I find myself at times feeling like I'm really not going to make it until the end of the day. But then at other times, it doesn't bother me at all. There is purpose in fasting. First, though, it's really not about manipulating God. Oh, if I fast, then God's going to give me something. If I fast, then he'll hear me better. We can't manipulate God. It must always center on God. It must always center on worship. Second, what I have found that fasting does is that it reveals things in your life that really control you. It's interesting how many things outside of my business actually come up on a fast. It's maybe things about my anger or pride or jealousy or fear. All of these outside things that are not about the decision, but they're about things that I need to address. These negative things are things that I need to work through. And that's what you find when you fast, is there are things that come up that you need to work through so that you can be more transformed into Christ's image and to find more satisfaction in following God and what he's asking you to do. That's one of the main reasons that I actually want to do fasting more consistently. So don't just think of fasting either as you're not having food. Because once God starts to reveal all these things to you that are controlling you, there may be some different types of fasts that he prompts you to do. Technology, television, people, who knows? Fasting helps really to keep your life in balance. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 6:12 that all things are lawful, but I will not be enslaved to anything. So seek God diligently and expect him to really show up. Of course, I have also created a tool to help you get started with fasting. I'll put that link down in the description, and it will give you a step-by-step instruction of how to get started, and to get started slowly so you can work into it. Just know this, I'm going to be using this tool too. Remember the formula. God plus prayer plus fasting equals business ideas plus direction plus satisfaction. So how do we do this? 1, put God first by meeting with him each day. 2, pray through all aspects of your life, including your business. 3, make fasting a part of your decision-making process. Ultimately, it is your faith life that influences the other parts of your life. Your business will be better when you make God and his ways, his thoughts, your priority. You know what? Thanks for being here with me today. Make sure to like this video. Tell me down in the comments any of the ahas that you have, any takeaways around prayer and fasting. And don't forget to subscribe. This is DeneenTB. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, be filled to overflowing.